Welcome to News for Scotland on the Scotland Channel. Here are this week's news headlines. Controversial US President Donald Trump will visit Scotland next week, the White House has confirmed. It has already been confirmed Trump will meet with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer while in Aberdeen, while plans are being put in place for the President to meet First Minister John Swinney, according to the Scottish Government. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both his Turnberry and Aberdeen golf courses from July 25th to July 29th, a White House official said. The President will return to the UK in September for his second state visit. The First Minister has defended his decision to meet Trump, telling press he had an obligation to protect and promote Scotland. Police Scotland, concerned about large protests during the visit, are planning to draft in thousands more officers from other UK forces.
2026 must be an election on independence, ALBA leader and former SNP Justice Minister Kenny MacAskill has said. Writing in a newspaper column, MacAskill said the strategy announced by John Swinney last week, far from reigniting the independence campaign, was simply called kale reheated. The referendum ship has sailed, he said, and won't be returning under any UK government in the foreseeable future. Now's the time for all pro-independence parties to get behind a plebiscite election, which means pro-independence parties declaring in their manifestos that the majority of votes cast for independence will be the mandate. The UK is sinking, and it's in danger of taking us down with it, or even putting us under before it goes under itself, said MacAskill. It's therefore time to get out of the Union, and to do that means being in charge of our own destiny. We've got to make Holyrood 2026 an independence election, he added.
SNP MP Stephen Flynn has accused Nigel Farage of wrecking the UK's economy with Brexit, and is now threatening tens of thousands of Scottish jobs in the renewable energy sector. Flynn said that Farage wants to sabotage our renewable future to serve his own ideology, and whilst doing so, doesn't have to face any of the consequences for decisions he's made in relation to collapsing the UK's economy with Brexit. The SNP Westminster leader said it was astonishing that Farage, who was central to the Brexit campaign, has faced no accountability for the damage done. Finances are in a mess, and the politicians are lost as to how you get out of that particular mess, Flynn said in a TV interview. And yet the guy who orchestrated it doesn't have to face the consequences of the economic damage that Brexit has done to the UK. Flynn added, if the Labour Party want to defeat Nigel Farage, they need to accept the premise that Brexit has been a disaster. Farage's party, Reform UK, have threatened energy firms bidding for renewables contracts in a fresh attempt to bring an end to net zero policies. Reform's deputy leader and MP Richard Tice told Octopus Energy's CEO that by bidding in a government auction for clean energy contracts, they would be doing so at their own risk. Tice claimed there was little public support for clean energy projects, and that if Reform wins power, they would strike down all contracts awarded under Allocation Round 7, AR7.
Suspended Scottish Labour MP Brian Leechman has claimed the party leader in Scotland, Anna Sarwar, hasn't spoken to him in nearly 6 months. Leechman was one of 4 rebel Labour MPs who had the whip removed for voting against benefit cuts and criticising Keir Starmer's government. Sarwar has been silent on the MP's suspension, despite it being a high-profile loss from his branch of the party. The MP, who made a name for himself fighting unsuccessfully against the closure of the Grangemouth oil refinery in his constituency, said he was gutted to have lost the whip and wants to come back into the fold. His name is frequently touted as a possible defector to Jeremy Corbyn's as-yet unnamed political party. Sarwar has refused to make any comment following Leishman's suspension.
The Scottish Government is still looking to medically evacuate children suffering from horrific injuries caused by Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza, but First Minister John Swinney has not received any response at all from UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, weeks after writing to him about evacuating the injured children. The First Minister first made the offer for Scotland's NHS to treat injured Palestinian children in an article in the national newspaper earlier this month, and he wrote to Starmer urging him to support the evacuations of children from Gaza to hospitals in Scotland. The First Minister said in a statement, "It is deeply saddening that so far the UK government has refused to even enter into a dialogue about medical evacuations for children in Gaza, who, without proper medical attention, will be left to die. The healthcare system in Gaza is on the brink of total collapse, with surgeons working day and night under artillery fire, with inadequate supplies and often no electricity. We know that many hospitals have been targeted and decimated by the IDF. The First Minister added that Scotland is prepared to do what is required to save the lives of as many of these kids as we can.
The Scottish Government's private attitude to Israel is quite different to its public stance. Labour MSP Mercedes Villalba has claimed freedom of information requests made by the independent journalist cooperative The Ferret revealed that while publicly stating that the UK is in danger of being complicit in killing innocent civilians, behind the scenes, the Scottish Government tried to organise a meeting between First Minister John Swinney and the Israeli ambassador Zippy Hotovely, and was talking itself up as a critical friend of Israel. Hotovely's trip to Scotland was cancelled, but a face-to-face meeting was set up between Scottish External Affairs Minister Angus Robertson and Deputy Israeli Ambassador Daniela Grudsky, which led to public anger and criticism of the SNP government, with the party issuing a profound apology to members at its September conference. Swinney suggested in a tweet last year that Israel had requested the meeting, which he said had been accepted on the basis it would provide an opportunity to convey our consistent position on the killing and suffering of innocent civilians in the region. But it appears that the Scottish Government had initially requested the meeting to discuss areas of mutual interest, including culture and renewable energy. The Ferret battled for nearly a year to see the emails between the Scottish Government and the Israeli embassy and details of the meeting between Robertson and Grudsky. But much of the section relating to Israel-Scotland relations is blacked out, without mentioning her own government's support for Israel, including supplying weapons and training to Israel's military. Mercedes Villalba said that her constituents were organising weekly protests against what they see as UK complicity in the war in Gaza. They would be asking whether Angus Robertson still believed Scotland could be critical friends, with a country currently facing genocide allegations at the International Court of Justice, she said. In the wake of the controversy, the Scottish Government ruled out further meetings with Israeli diplomats until progress has been made in Gaza peace talks. But arms firms supplying Israel continue to receive subsidies from the Scottish Government.
Scottish comedian Kevin Bridges has condemned an Israeli attack on Palestinians at an aid distribution site in Gaza. The stand-up comic said the attack was horrendous, as he said people had become desensitized to seeing such stories regularly in the news. It is understood to be the first comment Bridges has made on Gaza since Israel's brutal assault on the enclave intensified in 2023.
Scotland is not exempt from the increasingly authoritarian stance of Starmer's government in England, with Scottish protesters arrested under English terrorism laws for wearing T-shirts. Scottish independence activist Sean Clerkin, aged 64, is among those who have been arrested and charged under the Terrorism Act after he displayed a placard stating "Genocide in Palestine, time to take action," with the words "Palestine" and "action" in larger letters. This is an attempt to defy the English UK government's outrageous prescribing of the peaceful protest group Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation for throwing red paint over RAF planes at Brize Norton, in a bid to highlight the UK's continuing support for Israel amid Israel's ongoing targeting and deliberate starvation of innocent civilians in Gaza, which are war crimes. "We are not here to support Palestine Action, we are here against genocide," Mick Napier, from the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, told a crowd of protesters outside Edinburgh's St Giles. The protest last Saturday then moved on to the UK government offices at Queen Elizabeth House and the First Minister's official residence at Bute House. Former SNP MP Tommy Shepherd, ALBA leader Kenny MacAskill, and leaders from the Gaza Genocide Emergency Committee led the march. Shepherd called on the Scottish Government to stop Scottish enterprise funding for arms firms which are supplying weapons to Israel.
A North Ayrshire direct democracy group has won a small but important victory to give people more control over local and national issues after winning a battle with North Ayrshire Council over a pavement parking ban. The ban impacted a community parking area on the Ardrossan harbour that local residents have used for 50 years when visiting the beach and seafront. Following local protests by the group, the Garnock Valley unit of the Direct Democracy Federation, North Ayrshire Council backed down. Independence blogger and Respect Scottish Democracy spokesperson Leah Gunn Barrett said, "This win may seem like small potatoes, except that councils routinely ignore local interests and concerns, so even this small win is significant. That's because Scotland has no democratic mechanisms in place with which to hold our elected representatives to account. The only democracy we have is voting every 4 or 5 years, after which our representatives ignore us until the next election comes around. Scotland's political system of representative democracy, where Parliament and local regional councils make decisions on the people's behalf, is based on the English constitutional principle of parliamentary sovereignty. But Scotland's constitutional principle is popular sovereignty, meaning the people are sovereign over any government or parliament. Representative democracy isn't compatible with popular sovereignty. The only political system that is compatible is decentralised direct democracy, where power is devolved to the people," she said. "We, the sovereign Scottish people, deserve a system of governance that allows us to exercise our sovereignty. The Scottish Parliament has the powers under the Scotland Act 1998 to incorporate ICCPR into Scots law. But so far, the Scottish Government is refusing to do so. Westminster will do everything in its power to deny us our direct political rights and our right to self-determination, both of which are in the ICCPR. We can't and won't allow Holyrood to deny them to us as well," said Paddy McCarthy, North Ayrshire convener of the Direct Democracy Federation. For more information about direct democracy and to become involved, go to respectscottishsovereignty.scot. Elgin Ice Rink is to close on August 4th after its management board concluded it's no longer financially viable. Spiralling energy costs have been blamed for the decision to close the rink. The Scottish Ice Rinks Association has reported energy cost increases of up to 600%, placing many ice rinks around Scotland at risk of closure. Moray Leisure Centre, where the rink is located, is not alone in struggling with soaring energy costs and inflation, with nearby ice facilities in Inverness and Aberdeen having to turn to crowdfunding to cover increasing costs. In 2023, Ayr Ice Rink announced its closure after energy bills doubled, and its owners were unable to find an additional £150,000 per year to keep operating.
Coming up on the Scotland Channel. The Scotland Channel has a wide range of films about Scotland available to watch anytime as part of your television viewing mix. The Emperor Has No Clothes, which airs from Thursday, July the 31st, looks at how successive UK Prime Ministers, including Keir Starmer, have continued to deny Scots another referendum vote, even though they have no authority to refuse it. Kirriemuir is home to one of the world's thinnest public highways, measuring just over 15 inches wide. But that's not all that this Angus town is famous for. Watch 15 3/4 inches world's thinnest highway from Thursday, August 7th to find out more. You may think propaganda is reserved to countries like North Korea or Russia. We examine how British mainstream media bias is used to protect the status quo by influencing the outcome of elections and referenda in mind control. The story of mainstream media from Thursday, August 14th. Have your ticket ready to explore Scotland's railways past and present. A must for all rail fans. We travel from the Scottish borders to the Highlands of Scotland in search of trains, trams and abandoned lines. Railways of Scotland airs from September 11th. For full details of forthcoming shows, visit our website thescotlandchannel.tv/#coming-soon. This week's release, which is available to view now, is The Brilliant Mr. Buick, the story of the Scot who founded America's oldest and most successful luxury car brand. We also look at the cars that were built by the company to the present day. Watch now on YouTube at the Scotland Channel. And remember, you can watch this and all our shows on your TV, tablet or mobile phone by visiting at the Scotland Channel on YouTube /videos. Thanks for watching.